101. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Football is back as last night the NFL kicked off the preseason with the annual Hall of Fame game, and the Los Angeles Chargers beat down the Detroit Lions 34-7. Former Vols quarterback Hendon Hooker didn't have his best stuff last night as he was 3 of 6 passing with 18 yards and an interception. He was also sacked twice. This weekend, the MLB comes to Tennessee as the Braves and Reds play in the Speedway Classic at Bristol Motor Speedway. This game features 2 pitchers, both from the state of Tennessee, as the Braves will start Spencer Strider, who's from Knoxville, and the Reds start Chase Burns, who's from Hendersonville. Nashville FC off of MLS play this weekend, but will be taking on Premier League side Aston Villa at Geodis Park this Saturday for a friendly. That game is set for 4 p.m. tomorrow. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. Tennessee Titans had their third padded practice of the week today. We'll hear why, according to Brian Callahan, that those things happen. He talked a little bit about that. We'll also be joined by Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports. We'll go around the NFL with him. But Blaine first. Jackson Williams was at training camp today. He was there at 8 a.m. this morning, which I don't know if you know this, but he usually doesn't wake up before 10:30 a.m.
That's not right. I leave my house before 10:30, Zach.
That's typically the case. But he was out there. So if you would allow, I would love to hear what Jackson Williams thought of Titans training camp. Get his thoughts.
You know what? I knew something was up when I saw your email come through at 8 a.m.
Right?
My live.
Hey, I
said, what?
Yeah.
This is the first that has ever happened.
He even had his tweet ready for the show tweet. He even had it ready early. He was very proud of the responsibility he took on today.
Fun fact, I did all of that last night while I was here. But Titans training camp, I liked what I saw out of the defensive line today in one-on-ones. I felt like Zach had talked about how they weren't winning enough in those one-on-one matchups in the first phase of practice, and I felt like they were winning much more. They were coming off the ball. I do believe the offsides are a little alarming. I feel like they're jumping off a little bit at a increased rate. Would you agree, Zach?
Yeah, I would say today was the first time that they have 2 offside penalties.
More. I'm trying to think.
They had a false start in there as well, but the penalties were a little bit more prevalent today's practice than they were in prior practices.
And Cam Ward was better today than what I've seen on Twitter and heard from you guys, but still some things to work out. He's obviously a rookie. But overall, I thought it was a B+ practice.
A B+ practice.
Well, who won?
The defense. The defense, because they picked off Cam Ward at the end.
For a pick six?
Pick six.
It was a
definite
pick six. At least it wasn't over the middle as a sideline throw, I guess.
He was just a hair late on an out route to Tyler Lockett, and Roger McCreary jumped it.
So is that why they won the practice? Or they would have won the practice without pick six?
I think it would have been close because the offense made a lot of really nice plays. Cam Ward had a really nice throw to Van Jefferson on the sideline. Josh Wiley-Hive is back. He had a big catch up the seam for Brandon Allen.
One catch.
But other than that...
Oh, that says his guy?
Yeah, he's the Wiley-Hive.
I didn't even like that draft pick.
So there's a couple things I want to talk about from this practice, and I guess the first one would be probably the interception. And it's not that Cam Ward threw an interception, or as I guess more aptly put, another interception in another practice. It's the fact that after that interception, they put in Brandon Allen for a drive. I think I would have liked to have seen, because that's not going to happen in a game, more than likely.
Hope not.
I would have liked to have seen Cam Ward go back in after the interception and try to get something done. And I get that what they're trying to do is not simulate game.
I think they're trying to simulate the end of a half or end of a game.
Excuse me. I understand that they were trying to do this, swapping out of quarterbacks by drive. But I would have liked to have seen Cam Ward make a mistake, Cam Ward go back out there and correct that mistake. I don't feel like we've seen enough of that from the coaching staff's decision of how they run practices throughout the week. It's like interception, he's back there with Bo Hardegree talking, and then it's a while before we see Cam Ward again. It's kind of like talking about the preseason yesterday when we were talking about like the problem with doing just a middle eight game was that someone comes in cold. It feels like he isn't allowed to kind of get in a rhythm after he makes a mistake.
I was not out there, so I disagree with the premise.
Okay.
I think that's just how it operates. Unfortunately, when you throw a bad play, when they're doing series, every team is then going to the next group of guys and they get their turn. You don't change your turn just because you made a mistake. The individual made a mistake in a bad throw. So I think there's lessons to be learned by standing there, having dialogue, especially the quarterback, because you're really beating people not with just your arm, you're beating people with your mind. So you want to know what was going through his mind. What did you see? What were they doing? Did the guy run the right route? And so you want to have these kind of conversations when you're a learning quarterback. And I don't think they do it any differently if you were a veteran quarterback.
Gotcha.
So I just think that's just how, unfortunately, it just kind of works and operates. Not to say that they can't individually do that again, especially with the young players at receiver with the twos to get some, reps. But then now all of a sudden you're taking away from Brandon Allen's reps. I mean, it was his turn. You didn't make a mistake. Guess what? You keep the drive alive. You keep going. That's the reward.
Gotcha.
The punishment is, hey, you pick, fumble, whatever, downs out. Y'all done. Yeah, see, so I just think that's how it operates. I get what you're going through, though.
No, but that makes a lot of sense what you're saying, because it should be a reward to keep playing on a drive. In practice, at least.
Because that's kind of how it's going to be in a game. He's going to throw an interception. The defense is going to be on the field. He won't get his next turn.
That makes a lot of sense right there, too.
The other team's offense is going to be out there. I think so. They're trying to keep the mechanism like it's somewhat of a game, in the same sense that practice. Players may not be realizing that. But, I mean, that is what they're trying to simulate. But I just, what happened on that play? I don't know. Like, give me a diagnosis of what really happened.
It was, so the media was on the other side of the field, and we're having to see over. So from my angle, though, it looked like, I think that it was the correct decision, the correct pass. It just looked like Roger McCreary made a good play.
Oh,
to be honest. Now, I could be wrong because, I mean, again, I'm floor level. Right. I wasn't actually, I was actually floor level for this practice.
As I understand, they were at
they were on the very far field, and the way that it was set up is that we were watching from, if you're the quarterback, we were on the right side of the field, and it was going to the left side of the field. So it's kind of hard to see.
It's hard to see numbers from there too, as well.
So it looked to me, from my angle, that Roger McCreary just made a really good play on the ball. Now,
so he was throwing to the slot?
Yeah, he was throwing to Tyler Lockett, if I'm not mistaken, to the sideline. It was almost a similar play Wednesday, I believe. Was that when Roger McCreary had a pass breakup? And he was on the hip of Tyler Lockett. That was almost the same exact play. And this time he got the interception. Mm-hmm. And so, again, good play by Roger McCreary. Maybe they're working on sideline passes to Tyler Lockett for a reason. I don't know, but that was to me, that was a play by Roger McCreary that we just saw him make a couple of days ago, and now it's an interception instead of a pass breakup.
What was the emphasis for today? Because
we didn't get that in the pregame.
Third down, or I don't know.
Well, yes, all these were third down, and then they started doing a full field drive after that. But this was a third down play, so. And Tyler Lockett earlier made a third down play, a conversion of a third and long at some point. So, the emphasis was third and long again. They're really hammering that home, and maybe it's because there have been mistakes in prior practices. But I do think I love that perspective, though. And then now that makes sense why they don't do it, because now I'm thinking, after an interception, quarterback goes down, sits on the bench, gets his iPad, is talking to the quarterback's coach and going through what he saw on the film and all this kind of stuff. So now that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's where we started seeing little bitty signs on the mindset of Will Levis. It was kind of like his body language just wasn't positive in that manner. And that's what you're looking for out of Cam Moore, to see how he responds to that type of stuff. And I think he's just built totally different mentally.
Yeah.
And I think we won't see any body language that comes across as just like pouting or wasn't my fault, or, he takes ownership. So that's one thing you can say about him. We're going to critique him, over and over again every day. But I think he takes constructive criticism. I think he feels like no one's going to critique me harder than me.
Yeah.
So there is no critique by anybody else. I'm going to be the hardest on myself because I know what I can do, and I know what I need to learn, and I know what I need to get better at. So I think that right there will be interesting to see how much will there be cracks in the armor.
Yeah, how long does that mentality actually last?
Especially when the regular season starts and it'll go, let's say, a couple games, kind of like Levis did, and you wanted to see if he was going to crack, and Levis kind of cracked. His confidence kind of weathered in. The media was hitting him hard with articles, and I think he pays attention to that stuff, and I don't think Cam Moore pays attention to it.
He says he doesn't pay attention to whatever the media says, because someone had asked him about, does the media overplay? And it's really the fans, not the media, but does the media overplay that fans. Xavier Restrepo is here because of you? And he's like, neither of us really pay attention to the media. That's what he said. And
I wonder what the fans going to say when he gets cut.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but Cam Ward said we don't really pay attention. And so he's like, Xavier Restrepo's here because of what he did in college, right? Like, I mean, he earned his spot to be to earn his chance. Yeah. And so
he does well in the preseason game.
Yeah, hopefully. But I'm with you in the sense of like how these mistakes there's at least one mistake every practice at the very least. And when do the cracks in armor start take hold? We may never see that. I don't know, but that is a valid question to kind of like keep in the back of your mind is, when do we see the cracks, if we ever see them? Because he may actually be a guy that actually learns by making mistakes and then puts it onto the field. We may not see that sometimes.
Let's see if he learned. Did he have any tip balls today?
Did he have a tip ball today? I think he did.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, did he?
He had more than 8.
He had
how many did he have?
Probably 2 or 3 in that team period. It seemed like every.
Oh, wow.
It seemed because he would try to.
I want to talk about those tip passes, and we'll have to talk about that after Jordan DeJaney. Did he have 2 or 3?
I want to say, I know he had one because Jeffrey Simmons got a paw on one and sent it back like an old school 90s center, pretty much.
It may have been when I was getting fitted for my on the mic.
He tried to
mic'd up thing.
No, it was in the 2-minute. It was in the 2-minute drill. I want to say it was the second set of, because they did 3 sets of first, second, and third down in the drive before they threw the interception. I want to say it was in that second set. I want to say it was second down. He tried to sidearm it. Jeffrey Simmons sent it all the way back to the other end zone.
So you saying he had 2 or 3?
I want to say yes, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, people were telling me that he had more than one. That was for sure.
Okay, well, I've only remember one, so I must have missed the other 2 or 3. But I'm not gonna. Hey, listen, I've seen enough at practice. I'm not gonna dispute that it didn't happen. I would bet money then that you guys are definitely right. We'll talk about those tip passes because I am very concerned by them, and. How far can we take this?
You can go all the way to 17, buddy.
Okay, I don't know if we really got that enough time to get. So here's my concern with this. He didn't have a lot of batted passes in Miami. Through all those passes, he only had 4, according to Pro Football Focus. Today, or this whole time that he's been here, lots of tip passes. Mm-hmm. And it's the sidearm angle. So I got a couple theories I want to float out to you just real quick. One of them, the sidearm is he's shorter than most quarterbacks, and he's doing it at a lower angle, and he's making it real easy. It's like in the breadbasket of most defenders. So he's trying to get around offensive linemen like he did in college, but now you're going up against NFL vets with NFL speed, and you're basically just gifting it to them right in their breadbasket almost. And I know that that's something he's used to, but I feel like he's doing it too frequently, and maybe he's still testing and trying it out. But you go to Tampa Bay and you keep on trying it at this frequency that he is doing. It's a high frequency of sidearm angles. I'm a little concerned about how you go about fixing it without correcting it. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you even go about that as a coach? Because it's an issue.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about. It becomes an issue. And it was funny, Coach Callahan, the head coach, referenced like it wasn't a big deal. Now, he could be saying that to us publicly, but behind the scenes, he could say, hey, we're not going to change anything mechanically, but we got to learn what we can and can't do. So because if it leads to an interception, that's already too late to have that kind of discussion. You're soft playing it as a coach because you don't want to get into his head where he now is hesitant. And then a mistake will happen because of he feels like he can't do something. So he needs to figure out, what he can sidearm, throw it in the dirt. I mean, one of the two. I mean, like, you got to figure this out sooner than later. And I actually think it's a good thing that it's happening now. Mm-hmm. Because this is nowhere near the level of intensity and athleticism you're going to see in a game compared to practice. It's just not going to be. These guys are going to be hyper, more active, and going to be jumping way higher. That's just the way it's going to be. So, I'm interested to see what his personal adjustment. If I'm coaching him, not a quarterback guru, I don't like messing with mechanics during a season.
Because it's not really a mechanics lower body thing.
Yeah, so I just want to say, hey, man, we got to figure out, hey, are we going to throw it around them? We're going to throw it in the dirt? Or we're going to throw it over the top? Hey, we can't keep having tip balls, because eventually it's going to lead to mistakes.
Yep.
It's just no way around it. So I would have that conversation and then let him go out here and execute and let him decide it. And then before I have to decide it for him.
Hey, Micah Parsons just requested a trade after Terry McLaurin after 24 hours.
Oh, the Titans are going to get him.
And guess
right. Really?
And guess
really?
what? We are going to talk about all the stuff going on with the Cowboys and the Commanders with Jordan DeJaney after the break.
Micah Parsons posted a 3-page Instagram or notes app on your phone, Zach.
Yes.
He posted a 3-page notes app on his Twitter thanking the city of Dallas.
Whoa, we'll get to all of that.
Did Terry McLaurin do that?
No, this one's different.
Yeah, this is wild. Okay, we'll get to all that when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. I haven't gotten around to reading this Micah Parsons, 3-page chapter book that he is reading. Oh my gosh, just so much. So, but we're gonna go around the NFL with Jordan DeJaney. Yeah, I know. I've seen it's like one of that meme where like
Grand Poobah, tell her what it says.
Yeah, thank you for writing all that. Or not gonna read all that either. Thank you or I'm sorry to hear that. Whatever that means.
I'm happy for you. Or sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that.
Essentially, I'll just put the most important part of it at the end. He says, Not just I request a trade. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys.
It is long. We'll have to read at some point.
Good Lord.
But let's go to Jordan DeJaney. So Brian Schottenheimer makes Cowboys run after fights take over training camp. We got Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, calling him Michael Parsons and all this kind of stuff. Michael Parsons. What is going on with the Cowboys, Jordan DeJaney? Kind of catch everybody up.
What's going on? Well, I have a new book to suggest for book club because I didn't have enough time to read this Micah Parsons statement, guys. Yeah, I feel bad. It came out just when I was picking up the phone to get on with you guys. But I will say that this was a strongly worded statement from the phrases I've seen, right? He's talked about, ultimately, I no longer want to be here. Let me tell you, Mr. Terry McLaurin, this is exactly how you request a trade if you're trying to get business done. I mean, Micah Parsons went into about those weird negotiations that Jerry Jones said he was having privately with Micah Parsons outside of the presence of his agent, which, of course, cannot be formal negotiations. Micah Parsons talked about being tired about going and getting injured for those people who are not rewarding him for his on-field play. So if Micah Parsons is truly trying to get out of Dallas and reset the pass rush market, which he surely will do in the very near future, basically the rest of the NFL, every NFL team should be interested in his services.
So the Titans are first on the list?
Absolutely. The Titans were picked number 1 overall, so they are definitely first upon Micah Parsons' power rankings. So
well, how much, I don't understand compensation, but like how much would the Titans have to give up to get a guy like Micah Parsons, a heck of a pass rusher, and boy, it would just transform the whole defense if they got a player like that. Do you know?
No, I don't, but I can guess. I would say a package of picks, which includes a first rounder, potentially some players as well.
Have to be 2 first rounders, I would think, just spitballing here. And I'm also looking at it like this. The Cowboys kind of feel like a team that are going to make him sit on the bench and just deal with it, right? I mean, like, I would not be surprised if Micah Parsons sat out all year.
So it is an interesting conversation to have. I mean, if this news did not break right as I got on the phone with you guys, I will say that we know that the Cowboys are, Jerry Jones specifically, is addicted to remaining in the headlines. I don't know if he gets extra money off it or what. But remember that the Dak Prescott contract, which was the biggest contract in NFL history, came down like an hour before the first game of the first NFL Sunday. Like, I was kind of anticipating something like that with Micah Parsons. And the other thing I want to bring up is that while this contract that Micah Parsons signs with whoever it will end up being the richest pass rushing contract of all time, it's not as complicated in some factors compared to the Trey Hendrickson or Terry McLaurin saga, because we know Micah Parsons, whatever he signs, will indeed reset the pass rush market. There are, of course, a lot of things that go into a contract, but I think it's incredibly notable that not only did Micah Parsons request a trade, I would roll my eyes at that development, but the fact that he released this statement going into multiple stories about why he doesn't want to suit up for the organization again is very telling.
It is wild. And then, of course, you have Terry McLaurin over at the Commanders. They're holding out, and basically the biggest holdup for them is that he's 30 years old, even though that he's in the same draft class as DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, who are younger than him, because he is turning 30 in September. That seems to be the holdup. What do you think is actually going to end up being the result of Terry McLaurin's hold in?
So I will say that McLaurin requesting a trade was definitely notable because McLaurin, I posted a picture of it on Twitter. He's the only player that's played for the Redskins, the Washington football team, and the Washington Commanders. He's played for 3 different teams, but just one franchise, and he's been a leader for that team ever since he was drafted in the 3rd round back in 2019. That's why it's notable that he requested a trade, because McLaurin has been at the forefront of all these changes Washington's been undergoing over the past few years. Now, in regards to a situation, I do have to guess and wonder how much Terry McLaurin actually craves a change of scenery, because we all understand that requesting a trade is just the next step in the process of this negotiating. So if I had to guess, I still feel like McLaurin is going to end up re-signing a contract with Washington, but I'm super fascinated to see what that deal is going to look like, because if Adam Peters got this contract extension done at the beginning of the offseason, where you could pay him $30 million a year, $30.1 million a year, I believe that's a price that McLaurin would have signed at. But now that DK Metcalf has his extension, Garrett Wilson has his extension, you have to wonder if McLaurin's camp is really pushing for $32, $33 million a year. And even though, while I think McLaurin is a great wide receiver, you can make the argument that Washington could go in another direction. Ultimately, I think he ends up signing with the Commanders.
We're going around the NFL with Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports.
Or Jordan, give us the breakdown of what the heck is going on with Christian Wilkins there, no longer with the Raiders. I mean, do you have any insight on what really is happening? And is he really a problem in the locker room, per se? I don't understand what all happened here to fall apart besides his foot, and they're not liking his decision with that.
Right. I'm glad you brought this up, because I think it's a story that should definitely still be in the news cycle. And the reason I say that is because we're waiting on the next development to be reported. Mike Florio specifically has talked about there's been stories making the rounds that no one kind of wants to report, and there's a reason for that, whatever it may be. So we're waiting to see if that information is ever going to become public. And, I've been waiting to see if that's going to happen this week, next week. We're kind of waiting on something else to come out about Christian Wilkins, and it's really tough to speculate on what it could be. But we saw his teammate, I think his name's Adam Butler, right? A Vanderbilt kid who's played with him with the Dolphins, with the Patriots, I think, and, of course, with the Raiders. He came off out of left field with that very weird statement about, talking to someone and seeking out therapy if you have issues. And it's tough not to speculate that that has to do with either Christian Wilkins or the teammate that he allegedly tried to kiss on the top of his head in the locker room.
Well, we have a new quarterback here. I don't know if you've been out there watching practice in Cam Ward, but other teams have new quarterbacks and second-year quarterbacks, and something that may possibly happen with the Titans with the new coach, Caleb Williams. I don't know about you, but what has he looked like at practice with a new coach, Ben Johnson, kind of rebooting and starting his, I don't know, I want to say career over, but how has he looked in practice as a second-year player that was the first pick of the draft?
Yeah, by all reports, probably not as sharp as you want him to look. I think there's definitely been some growing pains when it comes to adopting and embracing a new offensive scheme, which has the makings to be extremely complicated if we know anything about Ben Johnson and the way he operates when he was with the Detroit Lions. So I think there's definitely been some growing pains there. He has a couple things going for him, though, even if he's going to look rough in training camp. And that's that I think Ben Johnson is someone who is going to be great at developing a young quarterback who has the kind of potential that Caleb Williams possesses. But you also have to applaud Chicago for what they've done in terms of adding to their arsenal of weaponry this offseason. I mean, I'm excited to see what Rome Odunze can do in year two. I'm really excited about Luther Burden III out of Missouri. He got off to a slow start due to a camp injury. Colston Loveland is someone who could be like a Sam Laporta type for Caleb Williams in this offense. So there's no doubt that there's been some growing pains early, but there's still great reason to be optimistic in Chicago.
We were talking about Dallas. I have to ask this, the Grand Poobah there, Jackson there, I know is his favorite player is Joe Milton. How long before Joe Milton will be the starter there in Dallas?
That's the question everyone in Tennessee is wondering, right? I will say, Dak Prescott has struggled to remain healthy over the past couple seasons, and there's a reason why Dallas went out there and got a physical specimen like Joe Milton who can throw the pigskin off the football. So he's going to be someone who remains in the headlines. I've already seen highlights of him in California throwing some great passes during training camp, showing off his athleticism with those backflip videos, which I'm sure everyone is sick of. But he's a really interesting player in the NFL, and that's why Dallas went out there and traded for him to get someone in the offense with great upside that can learn behind Dak Prescott and maybe take over the show one day. Who knows?
One more fun question. Watching the Hall of Fame game there and the guys getting inducted and everything was all fun. But, it made me realize that, Detroit lost both of their coordinators. But I was looking at both head coaches and I kind of like their character. Who's the better character, I guess, say, or on or off the field between Campbell, Harbaugh, or just any of the coaches out there in the National Football League? Because, certain personalities are a little bit different and you connect better with some than others. Which character do you like?
Man, I think you nailed the top two, right? It's Dan Campbell and Jim Harbaugh. I think that Jim Harbaugh is more of a character, the guy that's going to make you laugh running routes in full khaki pants in the sun. But I think that Dan Campbell is someone who, like, as a football coach, like, you would follow to the gates of hell. Like, that's the extreme motivator right there. He's not someone who's kind of controlling the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball like Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson did for that team. But he's someone who is absolutely important when it came to the culture shift that the Lions have experienced over the past few years. And I remember laughing at his introductory press conference about biting kneecaps. And my first impression was that I don't know if Dan Campbell is going to work out long-term in Detroit. But he's been a breath of fresh air. He's been quick to turn around one of the most lowly franchises in the NFL, and there's a reason why. He's one of the best to do it right now.
Jordan DeJani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Well, with football last night, who were some of the other Hall of Fame game standouts that were put on your radar?
Man, I had so much fun watching football last night. I must have tweeted 50 times. I was breaking down every play. I was so excited. There is, in doing my research for this game, I kept coming across one name that the Los Angeles Chargers are just super excited for. And he's not a name that's really made the rounds in national circles, but that's undrafted cornerback Nico Reed. The Chargers have been talking about this guy for weeks now. They think he's an absolute stud. He played his college ball at Oregon and Colorado, and he was the guy who made that interception in the first quarter off of Kyle Allen, returning it like 60 yards the either way. He also had a pass deflection in the first quarter. I think he had a special teams tackle. He finished with a handful of tackles last night. But he was also in coverage on Kyle Allen's second interception of the game, down the deep right sideline. He had, I think it was Isaac Tesla, locked up, and the 33-year-old Tony Jefferson, the safety, was able to come away and get the turnover. So Nico Reed is someone really to keep an eye on. The other guy, Isaac Tesla, I'm sure a lot of people who cover the draft are really excited about this guy coming out of Arkansas. 6'4", big slot, automatic mismatch. He only caught 2 passes last night, but he turned those into 46 yards and ended up being the Hall of Fame game's leading receiver. So Isaac Tesla is another guy to look out for. We know that Trey Lance had a pretty solid showing, but people know who he is. One guy, the last guy I'll mention, is Keandre Lambert-Smith, right? He was highly productive receiver out of Auburn. He shows good size. He looks like he can be a legitimate perimeter threat. He looked like a football player last night, also caught a touchdown in single coverage. So that's another guy from the Chargers that I'm keeping an eye on.
James Pierce is apparently getting a lot of attention. And for the Falcons, they traded up for James Pierce, and a lot of people raised their eyebrows to it, just like they raised their eyebrows when they drafted Michael Penix Jr. last year. Is this another trade that, in hindsight, that was getting bashed will actually turn out to be something good?
So I think James Pierce is actually the X factor when it comes to the Falcons and what they can accomplish in 2025. We understand that Michael Penix Jr. is probably the most important player, but if Atlanta can have consistent pressure off the edge with James Pierce and Jalen Walker, then we're talking about a team that could potentially steal the NFC South crown. Some people told me that James Pierce had problems with his work ethic or his passion for the game. That was not evident last week in Falcons practice. In fact, every single outlet in attendance, whether it was the Falcons official website, ESPN, The Athletic, CBS Sports, they all came away saying James Pierce was the star of that practice session. He was a perennial threat in the backfield. He was tipping passes off of Kirk Cousins. He was getting involved with multiple fights. He was energetic when he was asked to play in coverage as well. And by the way, he was running down the field on kickoff team as well. So James Pierce has really made waves early in Falcons training camp. And again, if they can get the most out of this athletic freak in year one, I think it's going to greatly help Atlanta get to where they want to go.
I do want to say this. Shamar Stewart ended his holdout. Cincinnati Bengals and him agree on a inks a fully guaranteed rookie deal after the lengthy holdout. It seems by the reporting that the Cincinnati Bengals got their way and Shamar Stewart caved. Is that correct?
That's a good question. I don't know if I would phrase it that way. Maybe that is correct, but what I can tell you is that Stewart got improved payout language that kind of made him comfortable enough to take the practice field. And I think that while he agreed to the Bengals' new contract language, which to your point is what Cincinnati wanted to accomplish, but Shamar Stewart got a $500,000 payday in the form of a signing bonus. What the Bengals did is they paid that number up front instead of paying it out in December. So I guess the trade basically was, you accept our contract language, which won't be as important if you stay out of trouble as it is, and we'll give you $500,000 up front. I think that's the trade that basically went through for the Bengals this past week.
I want to kind of go to this Packers thing because Jordan Love is kind of surprised by the help that Green Bay has acquired for him in the 2025 NFL draft. They've done a pretty good job of acquiring help during his tenure as quarterback, so I'm kind of surprised that he's surprised. But is he surprised because they didn't do that for Aaron Rodgers enough?
I think Aaron Rodgers told Jordan Love, hey, don't expect the Packers to help you out in the draft. They'll just draft another quarterback in the first round. So that's why Jordan Love was probably surprised with what Green Bay accomplished. I mean, it was a really funny comment, but at the same time, I think that going out there and getting someone like Matthew Golden, and who was it? The other guy from TCU. I'm blanking on his name. The other draft pick they made in the third round who can kind of be a Cordero Patterson effect. Savion Williams, I think is who I'm trying to name, who will be big for Green Bay as a rookie. Going out there and acquiring extra weapons for Jordan Love is going to lead to the goal for Green Bay, in my opinion. And what I think that goal is more consistent football. Like, there's some weeks where the Packers look like they could be one of the top 5 teams in the NFL, and then they go through a streak where they lose to teams that they shouldn't. I think that Jordan Love and the Packers offense at large needs to be more consistent if they want to be a perennial NFC threat, and acquiring guys like Matthew Golden will help towards that goal.
It's Jordan DeJeany. We're going around the NFL with him.
Well, Jordan, I guess lastly, the Hall of Fame game, we were always interested in the Tennessee players, and Hooker not starting the game was a little surprise for me, but then Callahan throws a couple picks. I don't know whose fault they were or not. I want to say they were his, but man, where is Hooker now with the Detroit Lions after seeing what happened last year with Teddy Bridgewater and those things with the last game? And, Grand Poobah here wants the Titans to trade for Hooker, so I'm interested to see if that will be possibly somebody they could pick up maybe off of the waiver wire.
Yeah, I don't think Hooker has much of a trade market right now at all. In fact, I thought his performance last night was pretty terrible, was pretty bad. And we saw there was concerns coming out of college that he was someone who kind of needed to see wide receivers open before he threw the ball. And we saw a lot of that last night on just basic route concepts. In fact, I tweeted out a screenshot of a crossover going right to left, a cross route, and a flag route, who was the tight end from the left side. He had both of those routes open, and he didn't let the ball go. He's not throwing with anticipation. He's not throwing with timing. And it seems like it's not something he's exactly comfortable with either. And that lends credence to the narrative that Detroit wasn't comfortable with him as their number 2 quarterback, which is why they went and signed a high school football coach to take over as Jared Goff's backup for that playoff run last year. So, yeah, I think that Hendon Hooker is in somewhat of a precarious spot with Detroit, because at this point in his career, coming out in the second half of the worst preseason football game of the year, you should be able to light up if you were a former player who was almost a Heisman candidate. So, yeah, I think that Hendon Hooker's roster spot is absolutely in jeopardy.
And Trey Lance on the other side of that looked much improved. Man.
Yes. Shout out to Trey Lance. We understood that he was a raw prospect coming out of North Dakota State, and a lot of people wondered if he was going to take a few years before he really found his footing in the league. And I really don't want to overreact to a quarterback starting the Hall of Fame game and how he performed, but I do think it was a good outing. I thought he had some nice touch passes. I saw him throw a nice go route on one-on-one coverage and trying to beat the safety over. I saw him really look good off of play action, just look more comfortable when it came to layering throws as well. So Trey Lance has absolutely made strides as an NFL quarterback. And in a situation behind Justin Herbert, working with Jim Harbaugh with the Los Angeles Chargers, he may end up being that longtime backup for LA.
All right, we've been going around the NFL with Jordan DeJeany of CBS Sports. Jordan, enjoy your weekend.
Hey, you guys, appreciate y'all.
Thank you. When we come back, I got your questions about what could a trade compensation look like for Micah Parsons. I got the answer to that because there's another trade that happened in the past that this would closely relate to. And we're going to read what Micah Parsons wrote. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Store. 615-737-1045 is the number. Micah Parsons, in the oddest manner ever, this may be the new norm, I guess, that we just may have to get used to when it comes to how players are handling things. But he wrote a 3-page on the Notes app letter to Dallas explaining his entire situation. And we're going to get to a potential trade for Micah Parsons and what that looks like. But just so everybody knows, Micah Parsons, in 4 years with Dallas, 4 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, Defensive Rookie of the Year, 52 and a half sacks, 9 forced fumbles, and 4 fumble recoveries, and he's at age 26. This is what he had to say, Blaine. Yes, I wanted to be here. I did everything I could to show that I wanted to be a Cowboy and wear the star on my helmet. I wanted to play in front of the best fans in sports and make this America's team once again. The team my pops and I grew up cheering for way up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. That seems like a little bit of a violation. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me. I had purposely stayed quiet in hopes of getting something done. But since there is confusion out there, let me clear some things up. I had my agent reach out to the Cowboys last offseason after my third year in hopes of getting a deal done early. Unfortunately, the team did not want to start any negotiations at that point. I was okay with that, didn't complain, and focused on the 2024 season. After the season, I told my agent once again to let the team know we were open to negotiate when they met at the Combine. My agent informed me I should wait for other deals to get done because the price would only go up, but I didn't care and wanted to secure myself as a Cowboy long term. This was before any of the other pass rusher deals got into that 2024 season. Got done this offseason. I knew I'd be leaving money on the table, but again, I was okay with that. Again, radio silence as far as my extension. In March, I met with Mr. Jones to talk about leadership. Somehow the conversation turned into him talking contract with me. Yes, I engaged in a back and forth in regards of what I wanted from my contract, but at no point did I believe this was supposed to be a formal negotiation. I informed Mr. Jones afterward my agent would reach out thinking this would get things done. But when my agent reached out and spoke to Adam, he was told the deal was pretty much already done. My agent, of course, told him that wasn't the case and also reached out to Stephen Jones. Again, the team decided to go silent. At that point, we decided we would allow the team to reach out to us whenever they decided they wanted to talk. Yet still, not a call, email, or text to my agent about starting a negotiation. Up to today, the team has not had a, this isn't technically 3 pages, by the way. He's carried over the screenshot some. Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. Still, I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally. Lot there, but could the Dallas Cowboys have handled any of this any worse than what they have? What do you think of what Micah Parsons said, what we have heard from the Dallas Cowboys throughout this whole offseason? It just seems like it's crazy town over there in Dallas right now.
Man, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I did hear, I don't know if he was talking about his injuries in a quote. I think it was by Stephen Jones.
Yes, I believe it was.
About, about guys getting injured after they get a contract. I don't know if he was referencing his injuries that he had. I don't know what his injury history was.
I think Jerry made a reference where he's like, well, he missed 6 games for us and he only missed 4.
Right.
But the way he presented it, I'll have to find it, but the way he presented it was very weird.
Yeah. So I have no idea the situation. Seems like they weren't going anywhere with the contract. So I've always taken the tack, even an elite player, quarterback, pass rushers, and tackles, offensive tackles, always have more leverage than most players in the National Football League unless you're, an elite level, guaranteed Hall of Fame level player. And so those are the guys you're trying to make stalwarts of your organization, especially when they're young. I just think the way they've gone about it, the Cowboys, that is, and Jerry Jones and crew family, is in this situation, I think I would have signed him early, and I would have got him cheaper than what I would have to pay him now. And I think they just don't want to pay him. And by the way, on the other side of that, if I'm Micah Parsons, I would have never come out and said I'll never play for the Cowboys or anything, because you can't predict the future. And so you don't never want to box yourself into a corner. So that's negotiations for me. I probably wouldn't have said too much of anything publicly besides, hey, I'm going to just do my best. And I would have played out my contract. So he has one more year on his contract. So at the same time, you're under contract. And guess what? You get to end the story, whether you're with him or somewhere else. And by the way, they still hold your rights. So they have to trade you or they don't have to. So what you gonna do? They can back you into the corner. Don't show up, we fine you. If you don't play for us, you don't play for anybody.
That's what it feels like it's going to be this year.
Now, the Grand Poobah would have done all that in a slice of bread. He would have done more. But at the same time, you're still trying to accomplish something. You still want a contract, and maybe it's not on your time frame, but eventually you got to believe, regardless if they're negotiating with you, it's going to get done. He's too elite and too young. So I'm looking at the top three pass rushers are getting paid. Myles Garrett and all those guys, they're at $40 million. So he has to get 42 or more than them based off of his age and his production and be the highest paid, watch this, highest paid non-quarterback. That's where you're going. That's why I wouldn't have wrote that. I'm not going to do anything to ruin that, whether it's with the Cowboy or somebody else.
Because what if they come in and actually offer it to you? Right. Then you kind of look a little. You got
to go answer these questions. Right. So at the same time, you just want to behind the scenes. Hey, tell your agent you want to look. Hey, man, maybe we should start looking elsewhere and talk to the Cowboys about maybe trading him. I would never say anything like that publicly. That's just how I would operate. Now, you said this is a different era. You got your social media. A lot of guys put out there, a lot of different things. I wouldn't have done, especially a guy who, everybody knows Micah Parsons is a daggone good player.
One of only two players in NFL history to register a dozen-plus sacks in each of his first 4 NFL seasons, along with Reggie White.
Right. Now, he deserves to be treated a little bit better than this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to show my hand. I get it's going to get emotional. I heard him talking about his family and his kids in another interview, I guess when camp started, and I just felt like, yeah, man, everybody wants to get paid.
Right.
The elite, the average, good player, great player, special team player. So I get it. You just got to believe it's going to get done. That this is negotiation. Watch this. I told you in negotiations with me, they said I couldn't even tackle. Well, then why am I on the team? Right. See, so you got to understand from their perspective. You never know. He may be Jerry Jones holding on to not paying him to as long as he can. He's gaining interest on other money, so it don't feel like he's paying them as much money. You just don't know what's going on in some of these guys' mind. And so you got to see how he has navigated through negotiations of other players, elite players, Dak Prescott and everybody else. So you weren't going to be any different.
Well, let me say this. Here's what Jerry Jones has said in a media scrum. We're talking about those injury things.
Something crazy, I'm sure.
Well, this is what he said. Just because we sign him, Micah Parsons, doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. 4 games. He was hurt 6 games maybe, but he only missed 4 games. I remember signing a player to become the highest paid player at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year. Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about, just as the player does when you're thinking about commitment, guarantee, and money. I mean, if I'm Micah Parsons, hell, if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm like, hey, well, why are you coming at me, man? why you got to bring me into this? But if I'm Micah Parsons, I get it. But again, what you're doing is you're saying you're not going to play for the Cowboys even if they meet your demands. You're not going to play for the Cowboys if they exceed your demands.
You can't do that.
And I get that. I'm with you. I'm okay with some of what he wrote and telling his side, right? You want to gain a little bit of leverage, but I feel like at the very end, you're basically just saying, okay, no amount of money. Okay, if that's the case, then what does that say to the other NFL teams that are you going to take cheaper? If the Cowboy, because you know what the teams are going to have to give up is something similar to what the Bears gave up for Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was 27. He was traded while on his 5th-year option. Micah Parsons is 26 on his 5th-year option. And Khalil Mack was traded for 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a 6th-round pick for Khalil Mack, a second round, and a conditional fifth round. And Micah Parsons is better than what Khalil Mack was, so you're probably giving up the same without getting much back in return if the Cowboys are even going to entertain to trade him, because I am not sure with the way that Jerry Jones goes about his business. He doesn't seem like a guy who is going to get all up in arms and panic over being bullied like this. He's probably going to feel like, I got your rights, sit out the year, get your fines, and stuff like that. That's what it feels like to me. I then worry because and Micah Parsons is a different breed. Don't get me wrong. I understand Micah Parsons is elite. But taking a year off just seems like such a risk for some players. And maybe Micah Parsons will be the exception to the rule. But I always got worry about like a player taking that year off. But, he's Micah Parsons. So.
Yeah, he's somewhat of a freak, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he ran a 4.3 40.
I mean, he's ridiculous.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, so I was wondering why, man. Penn State should have won that championship.
Yeah. The fact that they have had all these pass rushers, right?
Yeah.
And like these
I
NFL
like,
talents.
Well, they're underachieving there. But that's a sticky one there, man. I'm not really one to be vocal. So, but hey, man, he is elite and he deserves to get to be the highest paid non-quarterback.
Easily.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be even up for a discussion. I mean, I get that he played through injury, and I get that he missed 4 games, but it's Micah freaking Parsons. He missed 4 games and still got 12 and a half sacks last year. Like, what are we doing here? I just don't get it. This is where it feels like really feel like I could run an NFL team because this is such an easy thing. And it seems like Stephen Jones is no different than Jerry Jones as far as handling the media.
Hey, man, I don't know, man. This one here is a little baffling. I mean, they did it with the quarterback, so I'm not surprised. But dang, man, they act like they're not offering him anything. They haven't offered him anything.
Yeah.
Besides, hey, man, you get injured 6 games, really 4 games, and we don't know. We're scared about being hurt. Maybe we don't talk about guarantees. I mean, so what?
Yeah. It's crazy. And the stuff they say out in the media is just, and Stephen Jones is just as bad. Like there's going to be no reprieve when Stephen Jones has ownership of the Cowboys. He's going to be exactly Jerry Jones 2.0.
Is Jerry Jones the most popular owner in the NFL?
Yes, in the sense of he's the most well known.
Right.
Right.
And he's known because of this right
stuff.
here.
Right.
Because he's always in the media saying whether good, crazy, bad, it doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
You're always talking about the Cowboys, and I think that's his philosophy.
Yep.
You're always talking about the freaking Cowboys.
Someone said that Jerry Jones, if God came down to him and said, would you rather win a Super Bowl, but you have to give up your press conferences, he'd say, I'd take the press conferences over the Super Bowl.
I believe it. Oh, that's a good
All right, when we come back, we'll get back to the Tennessee Titans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. And Blaine, we talked about Cam Ward, and there's a lot to like on this tape, but we had brought up numerous times on this show there are certain things on film from Miami that he can get away with in college that he cannot get away with, or will at least have a very, very difficult time getting away with in the NFL. And this sidearm throw, then it's not all sidearm throws. It's the ones that come closer to his midsection, not every one of them, that he's trying to do from the pocket. And I feel like there's a couple different things. And listen, I'm all good. And we talked about this in our first segment. I'm all good with trying things out. I'm perfectly fine with testing what you can and can't get away with, because you have to learn that. You can't just take someone's word for it. You have to experience it yourself. But I look at it and I go, there is a real issue. Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports stopped at me on the sidelines, and he goes, this wasn't an issue in college. Why do you think it's an issue now here in these practices? I go, well, it's because he's going up against the NFL. Like, these are NFL players, right? These are an NFL linebacker in Cody Barton that has had, 6 or 7 years of experience. You got Jeffrey Simmons, who has been taught his whole life since coming into the NFL to bat passes down. That's something that they've worked on. So this is something that he's going to have to learn. How do you go about changing that? If you're, and again, I know I've already asked you this, but I want to kind of like just reset, because we're going to hear from Brian Callahan on his concern of the tip passes. But we don't want to change everything about Cam, but eventually I guess he's probably going to learn it himself without really, I mean, a coach is going to bring it up, but maybe he learns it himself.
Well, I mean, that's what I said before, so you're just repeating what I said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking you again to reset.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent on certain guys. It doesn't matter position, I think, that you let them continue to be instinctive. Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing about him. He has these little nuances about him that makes him special, that got him to be a first-round pick. Now, does he still have to adapt to the National Football League and figure out some of the things that he can and can't do? Yes, and I want to kind of let him go through that process to figure that out. I don't want to see what happens is when you start critiquing like we're doing on a daily basis, then that's called overcoaching. Like, you can't fix everything about every player, every single rep, every single day. That's just overcoaching. Now, if you start doing that, it's like if somebody came in here, Paul Mason came here and told you after every break what to do that you were doing wrong. Like,
I'd be in my head constantly.
Right. See, that's exactly what coaching is. When I always say the real world is just like sports, it is exactly like sports. So you'd start second guessing yourself in your own head.
Yeah.
Now, some guys are better at doing it, whether you're in the corporate world or in sports than not. I think he's one of those guys that is. But at the same time, I want to kind of let him work through it.
Right.
Me kind of throwing out hints. Hey, we got to figure out how, we don't want to be doing this because we can get a turnover. Maybe we can dirt it or something else. So I want him to figure it out, but I'm going to tell him, hey, to dirt it, because I'm at least give myself an out as a coach that I told him this is a mechanism that we really don't want to be happening, because now it's happened on a few occasions, different days. So that's kind of how I would go about it until I realize that maybe he thinks that he doesn't need to change anything, maybe not even dirt it, because he's just still kind of that gunslinger. I can make it happen. Well, I want to figure it out in practice. So I think it's a good thing that it's happening, but we shall see when it becomes game time. And that's really more regular season to me, but and sometimes that's too late. But I'm definitely going to say something, but not harp on it and kind of like run it into the ground. I think the way Callahan was talking about it today, I think that's probably what he did. I think he did say something, but he's telling to us publicly that it's no big deal. Now, it is a deal when it becomes a problem, but I'm sure he mentioned it to him in the meeting, or the quarterback's coach or someone. So, yeah, you got to be real careful here. With some of the really talented players, you don't want to slow them down in their thought process.
Because then then you would have a totally different Patrick Mahomes, right? If Andy Reid was that guy,
right?
Like if Andy Reid was, I guess for lack of a better example, Mike Vrabel, You probably may not see the Patrick
we
Mahomes.
would've
Patrick
never saw
Mahomes.
that.
Yeah.
He would have been worried about not turning the ball over way too much time. Where I've worked with Andy. He wants you to kind of
Go look at Donovan
be
McNabb,
free
right?
to yourself, but yet in the same time being the structure of the offense. And if that calls for taking some risks, hey, I'm cool with that. And that really is because that's Andy Reid's personality.
Yeah,
like he's kind of a loose guy. Like hey man, we're
Hawaiian shirts. And all that kind of
he's
stuff,
kind of that guy, man. He's kind of that a big uncle for you, man. You want to give a hug, but at the same time, hey man, we can't be doing that, man. Come on, man. Yeah, so I just think so. We got to be careful.
Yeah.
Of trying to critique everything about him, Cam Ward. I think he's on the right track. And anybody who didn't think that we were going to have some ebbs and flows and he was going to have some good days, some bad days, some mid days. I mean, come on, man. And it was bound to happen. Watch this. I don't know in the last decade, just if we can just go off the top of all the first picks of the draft who didn't have these days. There are quarterbacks who are veteran in this league. I mean, I was just talking about somebody in Houston. C.J. Stroud threw 2 picks in practice just yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's still going to happen.
Well, Aaron Rodgers going out to the Steelers first practice, MVP,
Pick 6.
MVP, first pass, pick 6.
See, so we're talking about the Hall of Fame, your first ballot, right? So it's going to happen. So we just, let's pump our brakes, and just see where it all plays out. And let's kind of wait till we start seeing him in games live, till we really start hey, man, we got to stop that.
Here's what Brian Callahan had to say on Cam Ward earlier this week, saying that he's kind of unbothered by tipped passes.
I think all quarterbacks get the ball tipped. I think it happens. These guys up front are pretty good at timing throws and getting their hands in windows. 2 of the tip balls really came off RPO looks, which are easy to coach off of. It's a little bit different pocket, and when you're blocking for a run and reading a pass, the rush can get a little bit closer than normal. So those are things we're coaching and working through. I don't, at this point, no sense to be alarmed by any tip balls at this point. It's kind of part of playing quarterback.
I mean, kind of to your point, like you said, it's kind of part of playing quarterback. And he said these were the 2 tip passes from yesterday. They were off RPO passes, which I do remember one of them distinctly being an RPO pass. I'm going to take his word on the other one. But, I mean, it's something that he kind of has to learn. And I think that what you're talking about and what you've been saying the last 2 times we talked about it is just going to be a learning curve. I think, Blaine, that there was so much hype from fans around Cam Ward and being kind of like Patrick Mahomes-esque in the way that he can sling it and all this stuff, that I think people kind of got swept up. And I'm okay with that. It's a first-round pick, be excited about, but kind of got swept up that, well, if Patrick Mahomes can get away with it, Cam Ward can get away with it. And I think that, and I don't really remember I may need to go back and look at all the Patrick Mahomes rookie year reports about all that kind of stuff. But this is a guy that isn't going to have the benefit of sitting behind a veteran like Patrick Mahomes. So he's going to have to learn his mistakes in real time. And we're just watching that unfold. We're watching the process unfold.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a good thing. Go ahead. You got something to say about that?
No, I was just telling him I had someone on hold on the phone.
Yes, it just now. Do I like that it's happening in back-to-back days? No, I do not. But I think we're seeing him have his growth right before our eyes, and we're not realizing it, and that he has to go through these things to help make him be a better player. And here's what happens is you got to believe that he will do it, and that's where the confidence and the support that you got to give the quarterback that will happen and having these conversations. So I think more so than that. So let's don't panic, fans, over some picks in practice. But I tell you what, it definitely needs to stop. And I'm talking about more the picks. You can go for these tip balls and everything else. But,
right.
Hey, man, we got to quit throwing these pick 6 on the sideline and all that. No, we can't have that. Turnovers will ruin you quickly.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
that's true. Let's go to Mark, who wants to talk about Cam Ward. Mark, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, hey guys, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
yes, sir.
Good. Look, I know it's a different position, but my comparison, I'm with Blaine here. You got to let Cam play his style, right? And you go back and you look at Barry Sanders back in the day, and he would always run against the grain or not really hit the hole that the play calls for, and it worked out pretty well for him. I think what he will learn as he's played in the NFL, more and more games, is possibly using a pump fake to get the defenders up, and you can use that 3/4 inch throw. But just my thoughts. Great show, appreciate it. Thanks for the call.
Hey,
Appreciate
thanks.
it, Mark.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I don't want them to change anything. His quarterback coach name escapes me, but the guy he worked with was like, he thought he was going to have to correct all this stuff with Cam too, and then he meets Cam, sees Cam throw in person. He's like, okay, well, I don't really have to fix anything.
Right.
And the Titans really don't have to fix anything. They have to just kind of tweak it, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Maybe not. Maybe that's too much of a word, but like figure out it's really Cam Ward has to figure out how to play within the structure of the offense, similar to how Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I guess Brian Callahan has to be a part of that too, but figuring out how the structure of the offense can work for Cam and how Cam can work within the structure of the offense. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, somewhat, but I would say I don't. Tweak means acts like you're changing something.
Yeah.
I think he needs to just be aware of it. Maybe he's not aware that, hey man, now this is 2 or 3 times this kind of hasn't worked. We got to figure out something else, And so I think it's more that than anything else. I'm real careful because I'm really big on the mental for quarterbacks and my kickers. And so I would be very keen of that and not trying to make them something else. So it's a teetering, way that you got to kind of talk to these guys like, hey, we've done this a couple of days now. We got to figure out something else, man. We got dirted or something. Like let's let him kind of process it. It's like, yeah, you know what? I need to do something else with this. So whether it's fake pump, like the caller said, Mark, or throwing it even more side on, or waiting till you're outside the pocket to
try the
to
side
do that. So you just never know. Sometimes it's going to work.
Yeah,
it is going.
It
to
will.
work.
Because they may not be expecting it. You never know. Maybe it's just that the Tennessee Titans have kind of like got a beat on them. Who knows?
What would you like to do, Brand Poobah? What would you do? You'd
For Cam
overcoach
Ward?
him. You'd overcoach him. You'd tell him, hey, you got to change the structure of your arm, man. You got to throw it over here.
I'd let him figure it out for himself. Eventually, if it doesn't work enough times, he's going to adapt and figure out. I think now is the time for him to figure it out.
All right.
Yeah, no doubt.
When we come back, we're going to continue talking about Tennessee Titans practice, but we're also going to talk about what I just found, an article from 2018 from Patrick Mahomes' first year at training camp. It's his second year at training camp, but his first year as a starter, and what he was learning even in his second year over with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for over a quarter of a century. And we've gotten to watch them grow. And I love watching the hometown business take off. And now we're proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Julia for Eurofix on Mount Julia Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. So pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of a backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and rent-a-cars available with every appointment. Repair appointment, that is, of course. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaze, Joe.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. Listen, I think the Patrick Mahomes comparisons for Cam Ward is pretty ridiculous, and I hate that I found an article that is about Patrick Mahomes that we're just going to compare to Cam Ward. But this is from an article from Adam Teicher of ESPN, who has covered Kansas City for a while. He actually retired as a Kansas City reporter for ESPN just recently. And it's from 2018, which is Patrick Mahomes' second year in the NFL, but first year as the anointed starter for Kansas City. And the title of the article is New Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes has 7 interceptions in 6 practices. That sounds very familiar for the Tennessee Titans. And it says Patrick Mahomes made a choice early in Wednesday's training camp practice that the Kansas City Chiefs starting quarterback immediately regretted. With the offense close to the goal line, Mahomes dropped a pass but had a running lane so wide he could have scored the touchdown himself. Mahomes instead threw into the end zone where the pass was intercepted by reserve defensive back Leon McQuay. That was on me, Mahomes said. I easily could have run it in. We were in live period, and I kind of didn't want to hear the defense talking trash to me for running it in because they can't tackle me during practice. So I threw the ball. You just have to play the game how it's supposed to be played and don't try to force something in because they can't tackle you. It's just something I have to learn from, and hopefully in a game, I just run it in. That's the first thing I said when I came to the sideline. I could have run it. The coach just said, then just do it. Don't train bad habits. That was the play that needed to be made on the one. It was a teaching moment for Mahomes and a mistake he may not make again, but it's not the only mistake he has made in camp. He threw 2 other interceptions Wednesday and has 7 in 6 camp practices. 6 of the picks have come during the 3 practice sessions in pads when play is most competitive. Sounds very familiar as well. He had a few hiccups, but that's a part of the process, Eric Bieniemy said, when you're young and need those hiccups because they become valuable lesson. Would we like for him to be perfect? Yes. We'd like for him to have the highest quarterback rating ever. He just needs to be poised under pressure. So, I mean, it's just like you have said, like we have talked about on the show now a few times, it's just a part of the process, much like Eric Bieniemy just said.
Yeah, and that's why I said we're watching him grow before our eyes, and we just are realizing he's going to make mistakes. So I think we just got to take it with a grain of salt and believe that he will get those things fixed. And all we're trying to do is get him ready for the start of the season.
Yeah.
That's what all these hurdles are, if you want to give them that term, throughout, practice, the regular season, these joint practices. I think that'd be very valuable to him because there's different defenses, even though they have different styles, somewhat all the same. So great test for him. So, yeah, I'm hoping that you got to believe that he will get it fixed. That's, you think the coaches in here is doing the same thing? Yeah, they want to be doing the same thing, but they're like, hey, man, we got to slowly, it's like, hey, we got to stop this. And when they do this, you got to do this. And, I mean, man, we can't do that to him. If not, we're going to have a player that's scared to make plays instead of not making plays. So that's what happens with the mental psyche of an athlete, and I think you got to be really careful. And then they have a lot invested. He's a number 1 pick. Just a first-round pick. He was a number 1 pick, so they have a lot invested, a lot of, to go for this season, and a lot at stake for the coaches. So, yeah, they're going to support him.
Mahomes said, I have to eliminate those mistakes. It's something that can be described as a learning process. Hopefully I make those mistakes now and don't make them in the game. And that reminds me of what Cam Ward said earlier in the week. Again, Mahomes has taken accountability. Cam Ward has taken accountability, especially when he's talking about the offense being very mid. And Brian Callahan today was asked about that comment of the Titans offense being very mid and what he thought of Cam Ward saying that. Here's what Brian Callahan had to say.
Been back and forth, truthfully. I think it's been a good competition. I think defense has had some good moments. I think we have as well. I think it's hard to see out here at practice, but I think our run game has really improved. We've had some nice runs that have gotten ripped off that I'm encouraged by. There's definitely things that, we're 2 days into pads and going on our 3rd day, and there's plenty to improve on. We certainly have work to do, but I've been pleased with the process. And again, the things that aren't good enough, we're coaching and working on, and I think Cam's in the same boat. And I'm happy that he doesn't feel like we've arrived. We got a lot of work ahead of us still to get ready to go play Denver here in 4 or 5 weeks. And I don't think anybody should feel satisfied about where we're at, but we certainly have some good things going on, and we're going to keep working.
I'm happy that he doesn't feel like we've arrived. And I think that's just part of what makes Cam Ward appealing, is what we've talked about throughout this whole episode pretty much, is that he's going to learn from these mistakes, and there's no need to hit that panic button or that worry button quite yet.
Yeah, I want someone to ask him or get him to talk about, like, is this how different this is than college? Because see, the fans' perspective is you excelled at every level you're at, that it's just going to naturally just happen. Well, that's why I went through the laundry list of players.
Right.
We all know who they are at quarterback, and it's not that way. You got to go through your lessons at any position, let alone the quarterback position, the most important position. So what is so different than college than pro? Now, that question to me should be asked about practice, and then when he starts playing in these games, and then the scrimmages first, and then the games against other teams. So then you want to see the maturation process of him getting better at each of those levels.
I see what you're talking about.
It's a gradual process of getting better.
It's like getting better at Incarnate Word, getting better at Washington State, than getting better at Miami.
Right.
You're getting better at training camp, getting better at joint practices, better at the preseason, better in the regular season.
Got to take the steps, because it's somewhere he's going to get halted, and then he's going to take steps back, and then he's going to go over the top of that, or he'll stay the same. One of the two, it's just like Jackson when he's reading his commercials. At some point, you got to raise your level of play.
Yeah.
And speaking or not, you got to stay the same.
Right.
See, so, no different when I first started doing, live reads to today. Like, it's just is going to happen.
Reps are reps.
Reps, right.
I mean, look at me. I mean, I was
so
very raw when I started.
It's that way. I just, but I get why number one pick, big dough, all eyeballs on you. That's why I asked also, has he ever been scrutinized to this level? Like on a day-to-day basis. They weren't doing that in college.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Miami's view of my University of Miami, because it's not the SEC. In the SEC, you could maybe make a case.
They don't even let them watch practice.
I guess that's true.
You got to go based off what the coach lies to.
You don't even get to watch practice, do you?
Okay.
No,
so
they don't.
in the SEC, from how I remember it, how this was a couple years ago, and I doubt it's changed. You watch stretching, and then the first drill of individual, and then you are escorted out.
Wow. So yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So now it's every little bitty mistake that you make in practice is visible by everybody. Where you may have been doing the same things at the other place in college, and it just nobody was there to even, hey man, he had a bad day at practice today. So I think that's what I'm talking about, the scrutiny. And that was really good, because, like, this is, man, hyperbaric for him. He to his point, like, dang, man, y'all messing up my mojo. I mean, I threw 3 picks. Man, you know what? I've thrown 3 picks before at practice, and it was like it was nothing. I came back and gunslinged it the next day and ripped them to smithereens, and I just threw 3 touchdowns. So we're gonna see how much, and that's why I wanted to see how he responded, and he was just mid. I think it was a little below mid when he came back and still threw 1 pick the next time. So, it just...
Yeah, he was mid. Well, there is a discussion.
That's what he said.
Because your son has said that it's not, he's never heard, he's 24, he's never heard of Cheeks, he's heard of Trash.
Yeah, he said Trash.
So I don't know which is really necessarily worse, Cheeks or Trash, but there were Cheeks or Trash on Tuesday.
I think Cheeks is worse than Trash.
You think Cheeks is worse than Trash? So
I'd rather be Trash than Cheeks.
Either way, not good on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, it was very mid, which is we never really decided if very mid was actually
like below mid.
We couldn't
very
decide.
Average.
I don't know if that's actually the way it's used, but
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I think it's worse.
I'm probably wrong. So
I think it's worse than mid in his mind.
See, that's what I think too.
I think in his mind, he's very mid. And then today, we discussed this off air with Jackson. I was like, what would be one step above mid? It'd be all right. He was all right today. All right. But that's still not a ringing endorsement of what you want to hear from your first round pick. But again, I just read what Patrick Mahomes went through in his second year.
Which was his first year as a starter.
Which is first year as
so
starter.
It was very comparison to exactly where we're at today. Now, he played in the, I think, last regular season game too the year before.
Yeah.
It really, or I can't recall, but it was something like that.
It was the last regular season game because they set Alex Smith because they were going to they had the playoff seed and then the Tennessee Titans.
And that's when people start saying, Mahomes, and I was like, well, there's not a lot at stake here, but he was looking really good. I was like, oh my God.
You talk about the interceptions and stuff. Brett Coleman had done this really good around the AFC South video series, and one of them's called The Surgical Ward, where he's talking a lot about Cam Ward. And Coleman brings up Miami's 2024 offense. Now, again, this is college, not the NFL. But the 2024 offense for Miami led the FBS in scoring drive efficiency, meaning they scored about 60% on those drives. On drives after Cam Ward threw an interception, which is he had, I believe, 7 interceptions off the top of my head, so 7 drives. That number jumped to 71%. So on the drives after he threw an interception, he scored 71% of the time.
Dang, that's a big number.
That's a good sign that, again, yes, all these interceptions happen, but he seems to be a guy that doesn't let the interceptions bother him.
Right. I think that's what I take from that. And, he'll keep it moving. But, he's going against different talent. But it definitely says he responds to it. And he wasn't hesitant or anything like that. So, yeah.
And listen, he did look crisper today. Again, there was some stuff that was still concerning. But I think overall, it was an all right day. I think I would go with all right. And again, I know that's not a ringing endorsement, and you may get other people that will say that he looked great or he looked so much better. I don't think that's really the case. I think he just looked all right. And I'm fine with all right in training camp right now.
No, he looked mid?
No, he looked better than mid. That one step above mid is all right.
Oh, all right. See, all right in my language means it was just okay.
So mid doesn't really necessarily mean average. It means mediocre.
Oh, Jackson?
So
he said mid means
mediocre is what I read.
That's average.
No, mediocre.
That's what he just said. No.
I don't think mediocre is average.
I think mediocre is very average. You don't want to be mediocre.
See, I think mediocre is less than average. I think it's slightly below average.
It's underwhelming.
Quit giving him the test there, Bananas.
He didn't give me anything.
But I think he was all right.
Oh, man, I'll let you guys. Yeah, I can have with that.
At least he wasn't cheeks or trash.
Yeah, he was not.
So that's where I do want to talk about this idea of the extra padded practice. So Brian Callahan opened up the session, and he kind of ended, he opened up with his State of the Union, I guess you could say, where he's not asked a question. He just kind of talks for the first 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And at the very end, he says, I'm just excited to get out here and grind today. And this is what he said initially about the padded practice unprompted.
Today, we have some flexibility built into our training camp schedule. These days that precede our 2 padded practices are generally pretty tempo down days. But with 2 joint practices coming up, and what I know is going to be, I know what we need to get to go be able to compete early in the season, and felt like another padded practice was in the cards. And so our flexibility with the schedule allows us to add it, and I'm excited to get out here and grind a little bit today.
Okay, so that's one part of it. Here's the second part where he further expands on the Titans' extra padded practice after being asked a question about it. Oh, no grand poobah today. This is Brian Callahan further expanding on the Titans' extra padded practice.
It's just the work. We just need more padded work at this point, especially, again, when we're a week away from going against another team. Felt like it was probably the right decision for us just to get another practice in pads. It won't be as long as some of our normal long padded practices, but to put the pads on and get another day worth of banging in there, I think is going to be good for us.
So I think this has something to do with the performances in the last few training camp practices. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not going to say that. You know what I'm going to say? Is that I do not know why he did it. I want to say he's looking at the schedule and saying, going up to the first game, we probably want to make sure we are ready to go for all fires come week 1. we need to start doing some more banging in the trenches.
Gotcha.
That's where it all starts. That's just a guess. And
maybe that's
I don't
right.
think this is like a punishment, or he looked at the schedule and then he made a decision, and then he probably told the team or the leadership group, and then he told the team and then said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I don't think it was like a big deal. Like, it was just, he said we had an opportunity, and guess what? I felt like this is something me as a coach, a head coach, this is what I wanted to do.
What have you felt about Brian Callahan?
I know the players, when that happened, like when I played, we'd be like, oh my God, no.
That's how I acted when we got the text from the media. I was like, man, I don't want to go back out there again.
I mean, players just, oh my God. I mean, we got
because they still got practice tomorrow and Sunday for right now.
Yeah, so it's especially during training camp, you're just like, oh man, dang. So then you just got to get your mind in the right mindset that you're gonna be thudding up.
Do you think that Brian Callahan of last year would have made this decision? Do you think this is something that maybe he learned that players may need or his team may need because he has an extra year under his belt?
I don't know. What do you think? You think, Jackson? What do you think?
I think so. This feels like a different Brian Callahan.
See,
now, listen, and to be honest, he has been floating around at practice. Last year, he was, all up in Will Levis's grill pretty much, like his shadow. This year, he is floating around, seems a little bit more CEO.
So he's a little bit more objective, like what he's seeing, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like this is a new Brian Callahan thing. What do you think, Jackson?
I think
he said it's mid.
he may have seen. I don't know, man. I think that's a tough question because of we don't know his thought process, but I think that you can. How do I put this?
Deduce.
Yeah, I think last year he may not make this decision because he's still getting used to all the players on this team, but now I think he knows his players a little bit better than he does last year, so now he can make decisions like these. And maybe he got the practice schedule for Tampa and saw, maybe there's not he needed that extra padded day before heading down.
Well,
that's what I said the day before, but yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of feel after also, let's play his comments here about the lack of energy or juice being a problem, because I feel like this is a different Brian Callahan than what we got last year in some respects.
They've been incredibly urgent. Our competition in practice has been high level. The urgency in the meeting rooms, the urgency on the field, it's been super competitive. Those things I've been very pleased with.
Do the other one as well. Sorry about that. Oh, that was a longer answer.
No, I don't feel that at all. I think our team's focused, and I don't know what energy looks like for you guys, but I know what I feel and what I see in the practice portion. Guys compete, we're focused, and there's not a lot of BS going on. And I think that the style of practice and the way these guys work is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of extra with it, and I like that about our football team.
All right. I know what I feel, and I know what I see. And I don't know if we really got that version of Brian Callahan last year, because maybe he was new, right? He's never done a head coaching job before while also being play caller. This feels like a Brian Callahan a little bit more comfortable in his skin. Don't know if that changes anything, but it does feel like that with the padded practice, some of the stuff that he has said about Cam Ward just kind of all feels he's got a better grip on what his players need, what this team needs, and where they need to get better and where they need to focus on.
Yeah, well, he's more decisive. I think that's with anything. If you're going into your second year, you're a little more confident in understanding what you need to do and looking at certain things, and that's where he's at. So I don't know if it's going to make a big deal out of that, but hey, if that's how he feels about the practice, and I actually don't disagree with him. I know a lot of people are saying the otherwise, but that's kind of hard to gauge. I think as media members, I don't think I want to go down a road of things that are hard to gauge. Yeah. I want to look at things that are face value and then ask him about those things. Things that are kind of more, hey, I don't see the energy and the coach is not having an issue with it. I don't know if I'm really... Like, if he says they do, then what then? I mean, so it's not.
Then everybody's going to be calling for him to be fired, right?
It's just like, I don't know.
Because then he's having to throw a player under the bus, maybe.
Yeah.
Or he's throwing himself under the bus.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Right.
And especially now, this is not the time. You got a whole bunch of guys on the team that's not going to be there anyway. So,
right.
So, you can pick your choice. So, yeah, I think I would be more honing in on what all of us are really doing. You know, the quarterback, the offensive line, where they're going to get pass pressure, and the battles for back end of roster guys. And will we continue to see guys elevate there, whether receiving core, linebacker core, or whatever the battles are? I think that's kind of going in. We all know there's only probably really 5 spots available on the team.
Yeah,
really, in all honesty. So.
Because pretty much your first 48, you kind of have a good feel for it.
So, and then how do you think, and he's kind of displayed that they haven't signed a quarterback, so they're cool with the group that they have. They didn't, they did sign.
They don't need to go. Not Hendon Hooker.
I don't know. It's just quarterback. I think Hooker is going to fit. I'm gonna say this, and it's going to make me sound old school in the sharp passing game type offense. And to me, this is that at times. And so I think he could be watch this. I think he could be better than Brandon Allen, given if he had the knowledge Allen has of this offense.
Yeah,
I think he's a better player than him. Now, he has to get to there, but I would kind of toy around with that if he's available on the waiver wire, just to put him on practice squad, at least get our guys together, get him revving. That way he can also learn the offense. Because you don't know where those guys are going to be next year. Is Boyle making the team?
No.
See, I don't know what their thought process on that is,
When we come back, speaking of making the team, James Prochet II keeps making plays every day, and he may be making a push for the Titans to make wide receiver 7 his. We're going to hear from James Prochet. He was specifically requested by all the media, and the media waited for him to come back out because they wanted to interview him. So we're going to hear from James Prochet when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Now you interview me?
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We've talked a lot about James Prochet on this show, and it's basically in comparison to Xavier Restrepo. Basically saying, well, James Prochet is probably not, and Bryce Oliver, we usually include Bryce Oliver, are definitely making it in before Xavier Restrepo because of their special teams viability. And James Prochet had another really good practice today where he looks like, out of that kind of second tier of wide receivers, the best wide receiver out there.
Oh, so now he's showing that wide receiver. You've seen him do some stuff today?
Oh, boy.
Well, I know as a returner, he
had a great day today.
He had a great day today.
But it's hard to compare him to Restrepo because he's played in the league.
Right.
He's been in since 2020.
And he is so much quicker. But he is doing stuff. This week has been a good week for James Prochet. And it's all about stacking good days. And James Prochet was asked today, literally, we requested for them to go back in and get James Prochet. Well, I say we, I think it was Glennon and Corey Curtis, John Glennon and Corey Curtis. But and then he came out and I was like, well, I'm standing here. Might as well go over here and interview him. And he gave a really good, 3 to 4 minute interview.
Did you rip him because he was with the threes too, like you did with Restrepo?
No, I didn't rip Restrepo. Restrepo's with the fours, not the threes.
Was it the fours, the threes? Wait, what?
Today they were mixing it all up, by the way. So it was all over the map today.
So he did it against the Sorries too?
He did it against the Sorries, the good ones. It didn't matter. James Prochet was out there kicking everybody's butt today.
He did it against the ones?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what James Prochet had to say on the ability to stack good days.
The utmost importance is I was a Raven first.
I thought you were going in order. That's my fault.
You're fired.
Yeah, I think the secret to anything in life is consistency, Like anybody can do something one time, but can you do it 2, 3 times? When it's really hot, when it's really cold, when adversity hits, can you keep doing it? And that's something I take much pride in.
All about consistency for him. And he has been stacking good days. Everybody has taken notice of it. 3 good days of practice at the wide receiver position, which is really important because James Prochet, on what he's been able to show the Titans at wide receiver, has been really important. And I think he's spot on with what he's been able to show the Tennessee Titans. Here's what James had to say.
Just my versatility, play inside and out, my catching ability. Feel like I got a pretty high catch percentage this offseason or this training camp. And my knowledge of the playbook, able to conceptualize things, reading coverages, and just being, like I said, being ready, bro, for the opportunity. That's all I can do.
Just ready for the opportunity. And I'm, I've been
what
going
he means
back
when he said talking about opportunity?
Yeah.
He talking about that practice.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody see what I'm doing, and y'all ain't giving me that opportunity. I'm waiting for y'all to give me that opportunity. Watch this. How does he compare to DK?
DK's the same, to be honest with you.
Right.
DK,
so 5-year guy to first-year guy.
to that. Yeah. So that could be an indictment on James Prochet a little bit, or maybe it's just something good about Chimere DK.
Yeah.
Chimere DK had it will be on 104.5 The Zone's Instagram account later, but I was mic'd up during practice.
Yeah.
There's some cuss words in there. But I was mic'd up during practice, and I got to see the pass from Cam Ward to Chimere DK, and my live reaction to it, it was a touchdown, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful throw, beautiful in the coverage, beautiful route.
It was deep ball?
It was a deep ball.
Oh, crossing route. All the way across the field?
I don't know where he started, but he was on the sideline.
I want to say it was a deep corner.
Yeah,
that he then
reversed
reversed back the other way to run for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh, he shows the run.
He showed a little bit of speed.
After the catch. See,
and guess what?
I've been waiting now.
And guess what the Titans social media team does?
You can't do that.
No, they didn't even film it. They put out this Van Jefferson catch, which was a good passing catch itself.
It was just a good catch, huh?
But come on. This is the second practice in a row they didn't put out the good one.
They don't want to see people to see their secrets.
I guess not.
We got to throw this on people in real live action. They won't know.
But if they're going to keep 7 wide receivers,
now we got
James Prochet is making a good case for them to do that. I don't think it's going to be anybody else right now than James Prochet that's going to convince them to do 7 wide receivers, because they have talked about using him as a gunner and not only playing in return as a returner, but also in the coverage units as well. And again, he's making plays as a wide receiver. Really hard not to have that guy on your team.
Is he pumping up past number 6 guy?
I hope not. You know me, I love my Bryce Oliver.
I don't know.
But Bryce Oliver is a good special teamer, but I have to say these last 3 days, James Prochet has looked like Bryce Oliver's gotten his, but consistency in these 3 practices throughout the entire practice, James Prochet has had the edge.
Yes, and that's why I said the back end is going to be something to watch. I mean, I hope none of those guys get nicked up because I want all of them to have a fair shot. We talking with the Xanders guy. We got the kid from Tennessee who hasn't, he's getting his feet wet now with the offense, but he's learning it. So Keaton, and man, it's going to be really, really interesting. I like the back end of this, and I think someone's going to rise, and maybe a couple, and then they're going to be stuck, especially if they perform in games live. That way, it's not just practice because people can't see the practice. They see games. If they end up having a really good game, they can be like, uh-oh.
And if you're a wide receiver who maybe starts getting hiccups, with drops,
no,
you could let one of these guys start sneaking in there. You never know. I mean, it's just it's a little tough. It's a lot more competitive than people think. And what I liked most about James Prochet's answers today is that he brought up several former coaches. Brought up John Harbaugh. He brought up David Culley. He brought up the New Orleans Saints wide receivers coach that he learned from. I can't remember his name, but he talks about the lessons he learned from all these guys that he's applying to today. And it just, not to toot your horn, I guess, for you. But one of the biggest things I've learned since doing the show with you is just the preparation, the lessons learned at all your stops, no matter what kind of player you are. And because you talked about when James Proche got here, you're like, he's going to be hungry, looking for opportunity. He's been in the league a while. Don't count him out. It's great for Xavier Estrepo, but he hasn't learned all those lessons quite yet. He's learning different lessons at a different pace. And you've been pretty adamant since we signed him that this is a guy that could make the roster. Yeah. And it's looking that way. And all that stuff I come to admire about these players, that when I hear that, in fact, the Grand Poobah was like, oh, we don't want to play any of these James Prochet clips. Yeah. And I go, oh, no, we're playing them because this is stuff that I feel like we have learned.
Because the smart players do that. They take from all the coaches. And some guys act like, I ain't teach me that. Like they know better. And that's the ones that don't make it.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm just saying right now, everybody's taking notice at practice of all the media that James Prochet is making plays. And if he continues to do that, you're going to see either him at wide receiver 6 or wide receiver 7. It could be Bryce Oliver.
I want to hear the Grand Poobah. Who is going to be, as of today, it could change. If we went 7 receivers, who's your 7th?
James Prochet.
There you go.
Oh, I see.
Clean sweep.
He changed. He used to be a Restrepo guy.
Yeah.
I saw Restrepo play football today.
All right, that will do it.
He's still got a shot. Come on.
He's got a shot. He's catching everything. It just may be 3 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, but he's catching everything. All right, that will do it for us. We got practices this weekend. We'll be back on Monday. 3HL's up next. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime,
and in between time.
Peace.